Hello, I'm Mrs. Republican Jesus.
And I'm Mr. Republican Jesus.
And today we're talking about the myth that women cannot be full-time caregivers or mothers without constant male correction based on less than a second of observation. So, for example, if you're not vacuuming your house 11 times a day and your interior decoration doesn't have the most modern trimmings, then obviously you're a complete failure as a wife and mother. Am I shaming them enough?
Yes, of course. The important thing to remember is that the men's opinion is always the important one. If a job was hard, it would require a penis. So all these women's jobs have to be easy because they don't involve a dick. So people with dicks have perfect right to correct them, because why would we be involved in these easy jobs? We have dicks.
And at the same time, I'll always be there to shame you. Hello, I'm Mistress Werewolf.
And I'm Mr. Red.
And today we're discussing the myth that misogynists believe they're the right people to lecture women on caring duties, even though your average misogynist is not prepared to do caring duties themselves.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, because we all know this caring duty is not easy. Looking after someone with disability full-time, the way Mistress Werewolf did previously, or taking care of a whole household and making sure everything's clean, or looking after kids, these are difficult, demanding jobs that you don't get breaks from. This isn't something easy like being a CEO that any fuckwit, even Elon Musk, could do. This is difficult work that should be respected far more than it is.
But yeah, as you say, Mr. Red, it's not something that I think Elon Musk would survive. Let's be honest.
Yep.
I wrote this myth not just based upon my own experiences, but experiences that friends of mine who are mums, have had as well. There were a lot of instances of these kinds of things happening when I was looking after my mum on her deathbed in the last 3.5 years. There was one big incident that happened with two gentlemen, and the rest of the time it was women with internalised misogyny, but we'll get to that. Firstly, the big incident that sort of inspired this myth, or awoke me to how this happens. I was outside the chemist with Mum, just waiting for wheelchair taxi, and Mum complained that she was cold, so I put her in the sun for a moment. And this was in the winter, so it was the winter sun as well, not very strong. And anyway, this gentleman rolls up in his luxury vehicle, looks at my mum there in the sun, sees me on the phone answering a text to my brother in the shade, and decides he's going to give me a lecture. And so he goes into lecturing me that I shouldn't put this poor old lady in the sun. I told him that's not appropriate. He didn't even know the situation. He'd been looking at me for a second. And then this younger man rocks up and decides to defend the right of the older misogynist to be lecturing me for leaving this poor lady out in the sun because they're only concerned about her welfare. I think she'd been in the sun about a minute and a half. Anyway, I retorted, "Oh, and I'm not." And I couldn't help but ask if, this young man was doing anything useful, such as being a full-time carer himself, or working in aged care, or working in disability care. And no, just wanted an ego boost from, putting someone down from having observed them for less than a second. And as I said, friends of mine who are mums have had the same things happen to them, that people will see them in a situation, observe them for less than a second, make a snap judgment, assume the worst of them, and go straight into the lecture. And this is over little things like, "Oh no, she's in the winter sun for a minute." And as for the women, the internalised misogyny that I experienced as a 24/7 carer, we occasionally had to have paid carers in the house. Now, my first career, by the way, was working in call centres where everything you say is recorded. Now, if everything that these women said to me was recorded, half of them would be fired. But yeah, it's not recorded, so, you know, their boss just goes off what they tell them. And yeah, they would come into the house and they would complain that, oh, there's a messy table over there and I don't like your interior decoration and this doesn't look right. And just to clarify, these concerns were never about OH&S or health and well-being. It was just that doesn't look right. And one of them even felt that it was appropriate to say to me that I have a pretty face, but I could do it to lose some weight. You know, apparently the weight that I am is not appropriate for caring for someone on their deathbed for some reason. Another one felt that it was appropriate to say to me that I should euthanize my mum. Yeah, they felt it was appropriate to say a lot of things to me. And their attitude appeared to be that the job I was doing was easy, and so I should be mastering it. And, you know, meanwhile, I was caring for someone with severe dementia, severe physical disabilities and depression, whose body was rapidly deteriorating. Everything was difficult. It was difficult to move her, very difficult sometimes. It was difficult to feed her, give her medicine, even talk to her or decipher what she wanted to do. Everything was hard, not to mention just the emotional distress of watching your own mum slowly die. And then having people come into the house who are supposed to help you say, oh, you got a pretty face, but you could lose some weight, doll. Anyway, yeah, some interesting experiences.
Yeah, and so many people feeling like they can criticize someone who is doing a difficult job and that they are somehow superior just for putting someone down. It's just not right, these wankers getting self-pleasure out of putting people down. I don't have a solution to it, but...
And let's be honest, they wouldn't do it to men. You know, if men were the main carers of children and, you know, vulnerable elderly people, you know, no one would be coming up to dudes in the street and being like, oh, she's been in the winter sun for a minute, I'm going to lecture you now. Look at me, I'm so good, I'm so good. No, people just wouldn't do that. You'd be afraid the guy would punch you or something. You just wouldn't do it. But they do it to women.
Yeah, they do. So,
yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel free to comment your experiences and, yeah. You know, even if you leave hateful comments, that's cool because, you know, it boosts the views on our video anyway, we don't care. So,